Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Adam and my whole mission is to get you a little bit better at English every time you watch one of my videos. Today we're going to be looking at Act 1, Scene 3 of Macbeth. And in a nutshell, if you haven't read that scene yet, please do go and watch either one of my audiobooks or an audiobook, read it in your copy, whatever. And ideally you want to have a piece of paper or a copy of Macbeth just somewhere, even on your phone, somewhere that you can note down these quotes. Obviously, you can speed this video up, slow it down, pause it, whatever you need. There is quite a lot of information in these. I've been teaching this book for nearly 15 years. I've read it probably slightly over 500 times. I said I was going to get that in every video and I might as well keep going now. So yeah, let's dive straight in with Act 1, Scene 3. So the first section of this scene is establishing the witches as psycho, crazy, evil beings, right? So this is establishing their character even more, establishing evil more. And this is all part, early on in a play, the first kind of act usually, classically, certainly in Jacobean era, Shakespeare's sort of plays, would be seen as what's called expository or exposition. So it's, you know, even in modern TV and movies and modern books and everything, quite often the first act or the first few chapters or the first few scenes or whatever kind of expose the audience to the characters and expose the characters to the audience, right? So we get to know who the characters are, what they're doing, what they look like, their beliefs, their personality, relationships with other characters, all that good stuff, right? So we had our first impression of the witches, which was a very strong negative impression in Act 1, Scene 1. And now we're in Act 1, Scene 3, and their evil is going to go even deeper now, okay? So the first witch says, "Where hast thou been, sister?" And the second witch literally says, "Killing swine, killing swine." So even when they're like, you know, just relaxing or like their hobby or whatever, it ends up being destruction, death, killing. So it shows that right into the core of them, that is what they follow. They follow destruction. They enjoy killing, destruction, any opportunity they get, not just killing and hurting humans, but killing and hurting animals, whatever they can get away with, basically. Okay. So there's this sailor's wife and she refused to give chestnuts to the first witch. Rather than the first witch just leaving it alone, because obviously it's not that big of a deal, right? The first witch finds out that this woman's husband is the captain of a ship or boat called the Tiger. And so, again, remember that the witches have supernatural powers. The boundaries of their powers are not always perfectly defined in this play, but it seems that they can either, you know, travel very fast or whatever, because they go to this place called Aleppo. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I forget where Aleppo is off the top of my head. I feel like it's somewhere in the Mediterranean or maybe the Middle East. But anyway, they go a long way from Scotland, put it that way. They go a long, long way and they find the husband. And then they work together to destroy the husband. Now, the husband is totally innocent. The husband didn't do anything. The husband never even met these strange witches, right? So they track him down and then they control the weather against him by blowing harsh winds and gales against this boat, getting him stuck, basically, okay? And they do this for a very long time, yeah? So they do this, some different people have interpreted this different ways, but it says 7 nights, 9 times 9. So 7 nights is a week, 9 times 9 is 81. So technically 81 weeks. Some people have said, oh no, it's like less time or it's metaphor, whatever. The point is they torment this man for a long time until he dies, okay? Because his wife wouldn't give one of the witches a chestnut. That's a red flag, okay? So, if that wasn't already bad enough, what they then go on to do, after he's dead, is the first witch... Well, actually, before I get there, sorry, that also maybe suggests manipulation of time, okay? Because how on earth could they have been away doing this for 81 weeks, if that was the correct amount of time, yeah? How did they get to Aleppo from Scotland so quickly, right? It's weird. Anyway, if it wasn't bad enough they killed him and tormented him for something he didn't even do, they then take his thumb as a souvenir for this whole process, right? So they've actually enjoyed tormenting him, killing him, and then cutting off his thumb and keeping it. But while we're talking about thumbs, I cannot help but resist. If you're enjoying this, give it a little thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, okay? So, sick souvenir. All right, so the audience is flabbergasted by this, and the witches are clearly established as insane, immoral, psychopathic, terrible, evil villain, right? Okay, so then Macbeth and Banquo enter the scene after that lovely exchange. And Macbeth's first line in the entire play is, "So foul and fair a day I have not seen." Now, what's amazing about this is that is a direct parallel with what the witches say in Act 1, Scene 1. They say fair is foul and foul is fair, right? So immediately there's this sense of a parallel or a connection between the witches and Macbeth, and this is very heavy foreshadowing that there is going to be some kind of connection between, or relationship between, Macbeth and the witches, right? It's about to get a whole lot weirder, because then they meet the witches, and Banquo is also in the scene, and he is used to be a juxtaposition, or another fancy word, a dichotomy to Macbeth, okay? So what that means is he's, in essence, going to be the comedy, whilst Macbeth is going to be the tragedy in this scene, just to make it a bit more interesting for us as the audience. So he sees the witches and he goes, oh, you should be women, but you've got beards and that forbids me to interpret your women. So he's teasing them, he's like mocking their appearance, he's kind of creating a bit of comedy and lightening the mood at this point, okay? They don't even care about Banquo at this point. Macbeth, speak if you can, what are you? See the difference in their tone? So Banquo's kind of having a joke, and Macbeth is very short sentences, sharp, serious, speak, what do you want, what are you, what's going on, right? And then the witches give their infamous lines, right? All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. He already knows he's Thane of Glamis. All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter. Because as the audience, we know that he's going to be the Thane of Cawdor, because Duncan already said that in the previous scene, okay? As for him becoming king, this is, you know, possibly true. It could be they're lying. We have no idea, right? If they have the ability to control the weather, travel possibly through time to some extent, they certainly could predict if he'll become king. Or if they can just travel really fast. Maybe they were there in Scotland, seeing when the battle was lost and won, as they said, right? Maybe they overheard Duncan saying he was going to make Macbeth Thane of Cawdor. So the fact that they know he's Thane of Cawdor, or will be, isn't actually that impressive, yeah? It could just be a big case of manipulation. And the truth is, we never really know what the limits of the witches are or are not, okay? Anyway, the other thing I want you to catch is that they're working in unison again, right? So when they're killing the captain, the guy they cut the finger of, the Master of the Tiger, they work together in unison to kill him, destroy his boat, take it off course. So do you see here, they're also working in unison, symbolically, again, to kill Macbeth, to take him off course, to make him navigate his ship, so to speak, his conscience, away from heroism, because he's the hero of Scotland right now. Okay, great. So then the witches say to Banquo, look, you will get kings, though you will not be one. So Banquo's sons will be king, is their prediction. This immediately creates a lot of tension, because as I mentioned in Act 1, Scene 2 notes, there is this thing called the rule or right of primogeniture. So what that means is, if Macbeth somehow were to become the king, then technically his son or daughter should become the next king or queen, right? But the witches are saying, look, Macbeth, you're going to be king, but it's going to be Banquo's sons that are going to be kings after. So that means Macbeth isn't going to have children, or that Banquo is somehow, either Banquo or Banquo's sons or whatever, daughters, are going to kill Macbeth and take the throne from Macbeth. So either way, it's pretty awkward, it's pretty tense, okay? They're probably not thinking about this at this moment, because they're just kind of amazed that there are these crazy looking creatures in front of them. Macbeth, however, is desperate to hear more. So Banquo is still seeing this all as like a joke, really, okay? But Macbeth, he says, stay you imperfect speakers, tell me more. And the reason that that shows his desperation is obviously he's trying to command them, even though he can't, yeah? And there's also a really messed up bit. Don't miss this. He says, you imperfect speakers. So he knows that they are bad. He knows that they are evil. He acknowledges it in that word imperfect, and yet he still wants to hear from them, okay? Now, if you knew that the person you were speaking to was evil, demonic, whatever, surely you'd want to run away. You would want to hear what they had to say, but he leans into the evil. See how that might link to the fair is foul and foul is fair thing, that so foul and fair a day I have not seen? Yeah, up here? Okay. So then they vanish, and they seem to just vanish into thin air. So again, that shows their supernatural power, right? And Banquo tries to lighten the mood again here. He says, you know, did we just really see those things, or are we on drugs? That's basically what he's saying here, yeah? Have we eaten on the insane route that takes reason prisoner? Yeah, because even back then in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th century, whatever, there would have been certain plants and things that would have been hallucinogens, some of them probably deadly hallucinogens, right? Anyway, Banquo is joking. He's like, are we on drugs? What's going on? This is the weirdest day of my life. Who were those people? What are they on about? Okay, Banquo was seeing it very lightheartedly, whereas Macbeth is seeing it very seriously. So then Ross and Angus enter, and Duncan bade them go to Macbeth and call him Thane of Cawdor. Yeah? Thane, like I said, is basically like the same as a lord or high society, but in Scottish terminology. He's got this promotion, and he is now the second or third most powerful person in Scotland. Yeah? Technically, he probably has more land and servants and titles and castles and money even than the princes. Yeah? So he is very, very powerful at this point. Okay, he's a double Thane. I'm not even sure if that's a thing, but here he is being one. So Banquo now has a massive shift in his tone, and he goes, wait, what? Can the devil speak true? So now he's taking what the witches said a bit more seriously. He's like, wait a minute, I thought these were just three crazy dressed up women, weird looking, maybe they had a fake beard on, I have no idea. He was seeing it as an amusement. He was seeing it as a joke. And now he's saying, wait a minute. Were they really witches? Were they really supernatural creatures? Were they from the devil? Can the devil tell you the truth? That's scary to him, okay? And it would have been very scary to the Jacobean audience as well in the 1600s. Macbeth starts by being very humble. He says, wait a minute, the Thane of Cawdor lives. Why are you dressing me in borrowed robes? So the metaphor here basically is, look, you know, all of these nice clothes you're trying to dress me in, the Thane of Cawdor, all that, they don't belong to me. These clothes don't belong to me. They belong to someone else. Why are you dressing me up in them? He seems humble and he seems cautious. Like, wait a minute, I'm not going to accept this title. I don't know. Okay. And then they explain that the Thane of Cawdor was a traitor, and Banquo gives the best advice. He is like the best friend, right? And unfortunately, Macbeth doesn't listen to him. So he says, listen, Macbeth, often to win us to our harm, to hurt us, the instruments of darkness will tell us truths, but win us with just honest trifles in order to betray us in the most deep consequence. So what he is saying here is, look, these weird creatures, witches, whatever, they are a tool of evil or a tool of the devil, and they are instruments of that darkness. They're just being used as tools of a great evil, yeah? And yes, they might have told you a little truth about you becoming Thane of Cawdor, great. But if they're doing that, if they're telling you a little truth, it's only because they want to mess you up in the deepest way possible. And that is the story of Macbeth, the tragedy of Macbeth, right? He follows the witches, he follows the instruments of darkness down the rabbit hole, and they betray him and they ruin him to the deepest consequence. Because in the same way in Act 1, Scene 2, Macbeth cuts off a traitor's head, MacDonald, right? In the final scene of Act 5, Scene 8, right? It is him as the traitor of Scotland who is having his head cut off by a patriot called Macduff. So this is a crux, like a really pivotal moment. And unfortunately, Macbeth just doesn't listen to Banquo, right? And that is the essence of the tragedy, as I've said here in the margin. Okay. Macbeth battles, though. He's not immediately like, oh yeah, I'm sold. I'm just going to throw Duncan off a cliff, whatever I have to do to become king. He's like, no. You know, it cannot be ill. It can't be bad, but it also can't be good. So he's wrestling with it because he's like, look, I actually would make a pretty good king. I'm pretty heroic. I'm a pretty good leader, strong leader. So it's not bad. Can't be that bad for me to be king. I'd be all right. But also it can't be good. King Duncan's like a father to me. And, you know, he'd have to die. What would happen to his sons? They'd have to die or disappear. Can't be good. Can't be good to get me to king, right? And he even says that the image unfixes his hair. Like his hair goes all crazy. My hair's always a bit crazy. His hair goes even crazier than mine. It actually is more meant to be about, you know, if you get goosebumps and the hair kind of like raises on your arms or whatever. But it gives him a horrible feeling, basically. His hair is all on end. And his heart is knocking at his ribs. His heart is beating. You know that if you've ever been really panicked about something, like your heart is like pounding out of your chest. That's how he feels in this moment. He is shaken up. And the horrid image he's talking about, this is kind of a euphemism. He doesn't even want to say it. He doesn't even want to think it really, is the murder of Duncan. That's what he's imagining. The death of Duncan, the death of someone that is like a father to him. Okay. Do I have any more for you? What I think is important in this final page is a couple things, actually. Come what come may, time and hour runs through the roughest day. So we have a rhyming couplet. And actually that could also be foreboding of death to come. Because like I said to you, I think in yesterday's video, in Act 1, Scene 3, rhyming couplets in this play are very significant because it creates parallels with the witches and death and destruction. The other thing is that at this point, Macbeth is open to speaking to his good friend Banquo. He says, "Let us speak our free hearts to each other." And Banquo says, "Very gladly, yeah, after we have weighed this." So let's reflect on what's happened here, and then let's talk together as friends about it. Unfortunately, this is, again, just good knowledge of the text. This never happens. In fact, Banquo tries to open a conversation about the witches up with Macbeth again, and Macbeth just fobs him off, says, "Oh no, I don't think about them." Obviously he's lying. He's obsessed with them from this point on. Okay? And then maybe you could say there's just a little bit of irony in the fact that at the very end he says, "Come, friends." And ultimately, these people are not, and they do not end up being his friends in the long run. Banquo, he murders. He tries to murder Banquo's son, Fleance. He puts Scotland in such a bad way that other thanes like Angus and Ross are put in a terrible position and ultimately choose to try to overthrow Macbeth because Macbeth is such a tyrant. Okay, so that's everything. Going to quickly plug some of my premium content for you guys. This is not the list by any means. Yeah, so basically I've got these long lists of different characters. You just saw the Macbeth one. Maybe I'll release the Macbeth one as a free content. We'll see. And this isn't finished. I'm still working on it and I'm bringing in all different sources. But in a nutshell, what you want to be doing with my notes, whether you join up with my paid community or my premium courses or stay on the free videos, you want to look at the character that is saying the quote, an explanation of why the quote's important, where the quote is in the text, because that's really important actually. The quote itself, obviously, a little bit about the context, and then the technique and definition of the technique within the quotes that you're looking at, okay? You don't always have to do this one, if I'm being totally honest. If you know what a metaphor is, you don't need to add that in over and over again, right? You might just put the word metaphor to just remind yourself that the quote here, "Iron blood steps so far, that should we wade no more, returning were as tedious as to go o'er." You might just, write metaphor and then you can unpack it. Okay, great. So if you enjoyed that, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, thank you very much.